Okay, we are recording. We are on. Looking good for everybody?
Mask.
Okay. Bye, sweetie.
Bye.
All right, take a moment to find your feet on the floor. Take a deep breath. Feel your feet. Feel the air moving in and out in that east to west direction of your rib cage. Close your eyes and check your weight on your feet and just notice, where is it? More towards your toes, more towards your heels. More on the right foot, more on the left. The indication of where your weight is on your feet is one of the clearest ways we can determine if what we're doing is moving your body in the right direction, because we'll notice that not only do the bones line up better, but that the weight balance, front to back, side to side, evens out. And that when that's more even, that's a really good indication that your body is lined up better. I know it's early, but go ahead and do that check, do that forward fold, and just see where you are this morning. How easy is it to go over? How far do your hips want to go back? What's your hip flexion like? We know that's such a great test to be able to see how your body's working. If you have good hip flexion, then likely your leg gets behind you better and you get good hip extension as well. Go back to feet on the floor. Take one foot forward about halfway up, about so that the heel is even with the other toes or maybe a little bit more forward. And then bend both knees and really bend into it. Then double check your back foot. This is that short foot exercise. And make sure that outer edge of your back foot is pointed straight ahead. Bend deeply into that. Keep your hips as level. Relax your shoulders. This move, as we bend the knee, is going to ask the pelvis to rotate over the hip bones and move all the way up into your shoulders and head and neck. Then lift and lower your front toes. Lift and lower 20 times. Lift and then press those toes down into the floor. So using the muscles that create that arch in your back, lift and lower, and create the arch in your feet. Pressing those toes down, working on knee flexion, bending into that knee more, lift and lower the toes. Relax your belly. As you're able to, bend a little bit more deeply and make sure the weight is even between your feet. When you get to 20, switch your feet. Outer edge of that back foot really straight. Bend deeply into that. And lift and lower your front toes. Lift and lower. Press those toes down into the floor. Lift and lower. And then when you've done 20, switch. We'll do one more set each side. Bending deeply, even weight between your feet. Maybe you can get a little lower into that ankle flexion this time. Even weight between the 2 feet, best you can. Relax your shoulders, relax your belly. Lift and lower the toes, count to 20. Press the toes down into the floor. Activate the muscles that create that arch. That it also activates the hip flexor a little bit. as you bend down more into it. Check that back foot, make sure that back foot is still straight. And switch again. Back foot, outer edge of the foot straight, bending deeply. Maybe that knee and ankle flex a little bit more. Lift and lower. Open your shoulders. Toes up, press. Up, press. This exercise is in my current menu right now. It makes a huge difference in how my knee feels, but it's not an exercise, it's a newer exercise, I would say, to Egoscue. So this split hip position, every once in a while they add a few more or take away a few. And come on up. And given that those of us like to still ski around here, that ankle flexion is pretty important. Go back to feet pointed straight ahead. And then let's go right into our elbow curls. Feet, outer edges of the feet straight, neutral pelvis, big rib cage, fold your fingers into the golfer's grip, hands at your temples, elbows all the way together so they touch, and all the way back 20 times. And relax them. Right into shoulder rolls, up and forward and around, strong elbows. And backwards 10. And then arms out to the side, over to one side, and up, and over to the other. If you have a wall you can easily go to, you're welcome to do that. Just minimizing any rotation that your body would do between your hips and your rib cage. Strong elbows the whole time. I'm watching mine bend a little bit. Keep them really strong and straight out there, letting the shoulder blade move over the whole spine as you laterally flex. Inhale, come up. Exhale, over. Take them wider. Same thing. Arms out, strong elbows. Over to one side, lift. Exhale, over. Inhale, up. Exhale, over. Inhale, lift. Squeeze your feet towards each other. Feel those inner thighs. Activate a little bit. As we take the legs farther out from the body, your leg bones have a different angle into the pelvis, so that they abduct in the pelvis, and it's much more difficult for the pelvis to stay elevated on one side or rotated. Go wider once more. Arms out to the side. Exhale, over. Inhale, lift. Exhale, over. Inhale, lift. And then come on back in. Arms out to the side once more. Over and up and over and up. Excellent. Go ahead and grab your chair or your block and come down onto your back. And we'll go right to feet up today. Into static back. Keep your block and your strap close. Legs up on your block, arms out to the sides. Just give me, let's say, 10 full deep breaths. Shoulders tucking underneath you. When you get into this position, what we're watching for is, does the passive position of your legs being in full flexion allow your pelvis to gently tip backwards into a posterior position? So your low back should be fairly flat. If it's not fairly flat, then it's a good indication that your lumbar erectors, your spinal erectors, are too tight and that they need to let go a little bit. Hanging out here and taking deep breaths will allow that to happen. The other thing we look for is what's happening in your shoulders. So ideally, both your low back and your shoulders go flat to the floor. And there's a couple things that can happen. Some people's low back is still way lifted off the floor. Other people's shoulders are still quite a bit rounded off the floor. So either way, we can let gravity just come down on you and let that move the shoulders or the low back into a better position. So feel what's happening in your body. Go back to paying attention to your breath. Maybe 3 more full deep breaths. Expanding your rib cage, inviting the breath into your back body. See if you can feel your back press into the floor a little more, those bottom ribs, as you take big inhales and full exhales. In through your nose and out. Just allowing any rotation in your pelvis or difference in your shoulders to untwist. This is, again, kind of the silver bullet exercise. It's a pretty safe position for most people. I have occasionally had some people with herniated discs that can't do it, or some people with disc stuff in their neck and they can't lay down. That's one of the questions we ask people when they come into the clinic. If you've got neck pain, can you lay down on your back and is it okay? But for most people, this position is pretty safe. All right, let's take it into shoulder work. Arms abducted about 30 degrees from your body. And once you set your elbow at that 90 degrees, keep it there. Let's go ahead and put the hands in the golfer's grip. So fingers curled, palms open. And then allow your arms to drop out to the side and bring them back together, back towards your body to touch your belly or your rib cage. And then back out, letting the arm bone rotate outward. And as you're able to, keep scooching your shoulders underneath you a little more. Releasing your neck. Letting your legs just kind of plop out to the side. Arms all the way in, all the way out. Keep going. Continue to breathe. And if this is difficult for you, you could just kind of hang out. If your arms don't quite want to go to the floor, you could just hang out here, put a little tension on that and breathe. And as everything else releases, that should be able to open up also. Good, then arms up a little bit more to 90 degrees, and then squeeze your shoulders underneath you in toward your spine. Find your rhomboid muscles, the muscles that pull the shoulder blade toward the spine. Your mid-trap does that a little bit as well. Let the upper trap stay a little bit more soft. So go into your middle back instead of up around your neck. Those upper neck muscles like to take over a little bit. See if you can make the mid back do more of that work. Squeeze your shoulder blades, release. Squeeze, release. Keep letting the low back just totally relax into the floor. Squeeze, release. And then go ahead and let your arms just rest out by your side. Go into your feet. Let's do 2 feet at the same time. We're going to do point and flexes, 20 point and flexes. I want you to point so far that you get those cramps in the bottom of your feet, especially if you have some hammer toes. So I've been seeing a lot of people's feet lately with the toes held in that curled position, that shoved in ski boots, shoved in fancy shoes, pushed together and not very active. And then the tendons shorten in response to some of your walking or things like that. And also lots of people that have been talking about having neuropathy or numbness and tingling. And there's some reasons we know why neuropathy happens and lots of reasons we don't, whether it's metabolic like diabetes or injuries that nerves get damaged, or who knows, inflammation potentially, lots of reasons that the nerves of the feet start to shut down, and then it feels like you just have a foot that's asleep kind of all the time. So let's bring some movement and blood and health into the lower extremities all the way down. Point those toes, find the bottom of your feet, stretch the top of your feet, and then pull them back. And as you pull them back, the hip flexors should activate a little bit. It should be even. So notice if one wants to take over more than the other. See if you can get it to be as even as possible. And then point again. Relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the low back, point and flex. How about your ankles? Do you have one that goes into that plantar flexed position more easily, or dorsiflexed position? Can you feel some of the stabilizer muscles on the side of your shin? Those are your peroneal muscles. I think when people talk about it being difficult to balance, I think one of the things that happens is that these muscles lose that slide and glide like they're supposed to over each other. They get kind of stuck in there. That retinaculum is at your ankle that keeps the tendons going behind your ankle bone. And so it's really important, but it also, kind of like the carpal tunnel, makes the space more narrow, and that can stop some of that movement of those lower leg muscles and how they can gently move over each other. So see if you can find some of them right now, even make them a little tired. And that may give you back some of your ability to balance just by waking them up. All right, that's about 20. Take a little break. Let's fire up your hamstrings. So arms out to the side, one leg in the air. Just press into your block so that you hover your hips just barely off the floor and fire up that posterior chain of your body, your hip extenders, and then release it down. Switch legs and then fire them up. How are they working? Hamstrings, glutes, pressing down into your block, lifting your hips just barely off the floor, and set them down. Just get in touch with how do you make the glute and the hamstring and the calf on the back side of your body work. You should have back muscles on one side of your body really turning on to stabilize. Switch, lift. Switch, lift. Switch, lift. Two more each side. How about different sensations from one side to the other? Go ahead and grab your strap. Place both legs into the strap, tighten it down so that it's fist width apart, and then take your legs back over there again. So we worked on the feet. We turned on the posterior chain. Now let's go after lateral hip stabilizers a little bit. Press out against your strap. Press and release 20 times. Now hold out against the strap. Constant pressure. I want you to feel it in those outside hip muscles, maybe even your butt muscles. Interlace your fingers. Pull your arms over your head, touch the floor, and then come back up. All the way over, all the way up. Keep going. Keep that constant pressure out against that strap. Yeah, McCoy.
Can I watch some YouTube?
Sure. It should be getting tired in your hips by now. Both sides should be working. I hope that's true. This is a good one for some people who have some knee pain. When that lateral hip really does its job, it tends to align the femur into the knee a little better. Then relax it. Go back into that press out against the strap. 10 more point and flexes, getting that whole lateral chain to fire up. Arms out to the side, shoulders tucked under, all the way back, all the way down, point the toes. The arch between the toes, I really want that to curl all in. The two arches on the length of your foot, inside and outside, make sure those are really active and working. And then back, point, holding that outer press abduction against the strap, and that's a lot to think about. Point, flex, press, keep the press, point, flex. And release. Go ahead and take the strap away. Go ahead and push your block out of the way. And then go into cross crawls. So legs out straight on the floor, arms down by your side, shoulders tucked underneath you again. In an ideal world, your shoulders would be down, your rib cage would be in neutral or a little bit up because your legs are out straight, so there should be a pretty big arch in your back right now. Keep it there. Opposite arm, opposite leg. Take it up. Hold all of let the body do the stabilization, and down. You focus on foot, knee, and hip in alignment as you bring that up and set it back down. All the way up, all the way down. Letting the hip spin in the socket. When we do opposites, we are working both sides of your brain. We are working the cross body fascial chains from one hip to the shoulder, both in the front of your body and the back of your body. And we're asking for this spin to happen in the socket. So as your knee comes up, this side of your back should go slightly more flat to the floor as the knee comes up, and this other side should get to stay in extension. That movement and coordination is important for walking without big rotations and good stabilization. Keep going. 10 more. You can count each side. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is also what we call ipsilateral movement, which is what is supposed to happen when you're walking. The opposite arm and the opposite leg move, versus see if you can trick your brain, do a couple homolateral movements, same side, leg and arm, just to change it up. And then go back to ipsilateral. opposite arm, opposite leg. If someone walks with the same arm and the same leg moving at the same time, we send them to a neurologist because sometimes it means their brain is not working so well. All right, bend your knees, feet on the floor, pelvic tilts. Rock your pelvis back and forward and back and forward 10 times. And then roll to your belly. So we've been in standing or hip flexion. We just moved to hip flexion and extension. Now let's go all the way into hip extension. Let your forehead just relax on your hands. Legs out on the floor. Check and feel your hip bones. Where are they? Even on the floor, slightly up. Some curve in the low back. Really relax your shoulders a lot. Let's go left leg first. Curl the left leg up and let's just do 10 hamstring curls down and up. And right side, pointed toes, arch of that foot that we found already, up and down. Okay, I'm going to walk you through your hip in this position from the deepest muscles to the more superficial muscles. So let's go psoas first, actually. Bend that knee up, left knee bent. Press your knee down into the floor so that you feel the muscles on the front of your hip activate. And you can hold that knee in as bent a position as you can. And then press the knee into the floor and release. Find your hip flexors, muscles that would pull your knee toward your belly, but the floor is not letting it move. Press, release. Press, release. And then switch. Bending the right leg, pressing that right knee down into the floor. Feel the front of the right hip activate. Press, release. Good. Let's go after rotators. Left leg up. Slide the left knee out to the side. Let the foot rotate in so that it comes down to the floor on the inside of your right calf. And then up, slide it back in. Stay on the same side. Do 5 of these hip rotations. Bend the knee, slide it out, let it rotate, coming down to the inside and up. As your knee goes out, your back's going to arch a little more. You have femur driven lumbar extension, a little bit more low back arch on that side as that leg comes down so that your hip can do that rotation, and then back up. Slide it in. Good. Up, out, let it rotate, in. One more. And switch sides, letting that left one come down, right leg goes up, bend, then move, and up. Release. Again, letting your back arch a little bit as that leg comes down so that as that leg moves out, you have rotation that makes the back arch a little more. That gives you room for the femur to move. And maybe you can get it a little bit farther down if you weren't able to get it to the floor by changing that in your brain. A little bit more arch, letting it move. When you've done 5 of those, release it, grab your block, place your block between your feet. Squeeze that block with the whole inside of your feet, relax your shoulders. Squeeze, release. Find your butt muscles. From the squeeze at your feet, feel it all the way up into those deep muscles in your hips. You should have quite a big arch in your back right now. You can even lengthen up and out of it based on the position of your quads pulling on your pelvis. That's going to increase the arch in your back and move that all the way up into the neck and shoulders. Squeeze, release. Squeeze, release. Let it come down, and then again, bring it up, toes pointed, low back arch, shoulders relaxed, squeeze, and release. 10 times. And release it out. Let your block go. Press up onto your hands and knees. Go into a static extension position. So walking your hands one palm length forward. You can start all the way like hands pointed in that arrow or in a seed hand, and then let it spread out, but feel the muscles that are all in the pad of the thumb and the pad of the pinky, and all of them squeeze together in your hand as you keep some tension there and open it up. Then look at the flat parts of your elbows and make them point towards each other. and then go ahead and sink down. Let your pelvis roll forward over the top of your thigh bones, putting an arch into your back. Let your belly relax. Let your shoulders squeeze together on your back, and hold and breathe. Chin down, head tucked. 5 more full breaths. Fully in, fully out. If you need to wiggle a little bit as the facet joints allow that extension to happen, you're more than welcome. Little adjustments in the shoulders or in the back. And then release out of that. Come to a seated position. Sitting with both legs out straight on the floor. Cross your right leg over your left. Put your right hand behind you. Sit really tall. Open it up. Twist and breathe. Keep trying to roll a little bit of an arch into your low back. That extension in the low back allows for more rotation up the chain. Outer edge of that foot pointed straight up. Active thigh muscle. And release. Switch sides. Taking your left, crossing over to your right, take your left hand behind you. Sitting really tall. Front foot straight up and down, thigh tight. Roll that arch into your back. And then let that rotation happen all the way up the chain. Untwist. Come onto your hands and knees once more. This time, hold it stable and come into a hand-leg opposite lift. Hold it up there. See if you can lift it more, taking your leg as high as possible. Hamstring, butt muscle, back muscles, back of the shoulder, find them all, and then switch. Low belly there for support. All the way up. How high can you get them? Switch. 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 Last one. Do whatever side you need to do to make it even. And then come down onto your belly once more. Press your body up on your elbows. We're going after some extension. So if you know that extension is too hard on your back, then you might just go hands down, forehead on your forehead. But if you are okay with letting some extension happen, let's do this. Take your legs out, so femurs out in the hip sockets. That's going to let some more arch happen in your back. Let your belly lengthen and relax. And then on your elbows, make sure your elbows are right below your shoulders. Then pull your forearms out and keep your hands in the golfer's grip. Fingers curled, palm open. Keep sinking your shoulders together. Keep rotating that upper arm bone backwards. And then press the bottom of your feet together. Glutes active. So this is, we should have full hip extension is happening. In that outward rotation, that should make more arch happen in your back. Your middle back hopefully is relaxed. And then all the way up, a lot of muscle working through your shoulders and head and neck. You can even look forward and let the back of the neck work a little bit here. Hold it out there. Press the bottom of your feet together a lot. Feel those glutes. Breathe. And release. Release your legs. Press up. And just to do a counter pose, go ahead and go into a child's pose. Knees a little wider so your pelvis has room to move. Sitting back. Taking your arms back behind you. Letting your belly activate. Letting your tailbone tip down toward the floor. Rounding through your whole back. Even letting your shoulders relax. Letting just rounding happen all the way through that chain. And then gently coming up. Come back to standing. Grab your chair or your block. And put one foot forward, one foot back. Come into that runner stretch, outer edges of the feet pointed straight again. Take it over, rolling the pelvis over the head of the femurs. You can let it relax through your upper body, or if you get low enough, keep coming down to your forearms or hands to the floor, your choice. Breathe. And then switch. And then hands on the floor, stepping back. Breathing. And come on up. Take a couple minutes to get into whatever position feels good to you. Onto your back, legs out straight or legs back over your block, or even in sitting today if that feels comfortable. And just take a few really conscious, present, deep breaths. Feel the breath move in and out of your body. Have the awareness of the thoughts that are coming in. If things from the rest of your day are arising, can you just ask them to wait for a couple moments while you connect into that silent, present awareness? That place that is always there and always available, where nothing but this moment matters. Where you can observe your thoughts almost like a movie. Know that you are doing this, even for just a few moments, with the community and support of your friends, the care and love that we have for supporting optimal health and good alignment in our bodies, and friendship. And if you want to stay here, please just turn off your computer, or if you'd like a few minutes to visit and catch up, please gently come back around. If you want to talk, you'll have to unmute yourself. Thank you again for all of your support. I really appreciate the continued donations that continue to come my way. It makes this fun and easy and supports my family, so I appreciate it.
It's reciprocal, Kyra. You're supporting us.
Well, good.
It's great.
Thanks, Kyra.
Thank you.